Senator, I appreciate the effort that you're doing on this, but I do have a question and I think the answer should be made public. The question is simply this: why won't Congress, to include the senators and the House, of course, why won't Congress wake up and realize the disaster this Obamacare is going to cause our nation? It doesn't make sense to me. If I had somebody working for me that came up with an idea as stupid as this, I would fire them. So why won't Congress stand up and state why they want to do it? It is ridiculous. And where is your buddy Hatch? He certainly has been hiding. I look forward to your answer.
Well, thank you, sir. First of all, with regard to why Congress won't stand up and acknowledge it, I think there are a lot of reasons for this. I always am careful not to speak for my colleagues, either Democrats or Republicans, either House members or senators, because that's their prerogative, and not mine to speak for them. I can only speculate that for many of them, this is something that they take pride in having passed, and perhaps they fundamentally believe that this would be good for the American people if it were to kick in. The only problem with that belief is that it is simply wrong. And it also goes fundamentally against what the overwhelming majority of Americans believe and feel and know. This ultimately, Richard, is not an instance of Democrat versus Republican. It's not a traditional situation in which you have left versus right, liberal versus conservative. This is a situation in which we're faced with Washington, D.C., career politicians, the political establishment in Washington versus everyone else. The problem that you have in Washington is that there is a syndrome of self-importance that pervades that place from one end to the other. And a lot of people think that government can solve all the world's problems. We can make everything better. When in reality, we make things a lot worse for a lot of people when we try to pretend that we can make everything better for everyone else. And so we've got to get away from that mindset, and we've got to reject the false choice placed before us by those who are powerful. The false choice that we're presented with here is we're told that we have to choose between, on the one hand, funding Obamacare and allowing it to take full effect on January 1st, 2014, and on the other hand, shutting down government and creating a situation in which our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines won't get paid. That just simply isn't true. This is a false choice that's been perpetuated by the left, by the media establishment, and by the political establishment in Washington. The truth is, we have every capacity to fund everything else in government while not funding Obamacare. The only reason we're even in this mess where that false choice is presented to us that way is because, for a variety of reasons, Congress, for the last 5 years or so, has been operating sort of on autopilot with regard to our spending bills, such that almost all of the operations of government are funded through one piece of legislation that's passed through one vote. And so people are being told now, you've either got to fund Obamacare and fund everything else or not fund anything. And it'll be chaos. Soldiers won't get paid. Social Security checks won't go out, and it'll be awful. Well, that's just number one, it's a lie. Number two, that's an indication of how bad things have really gotten in Congress. That people are willing to look at this and say, oh yeah, you really do only have two choices. Shut down the government or fund Obamacare, and it simply isn't true. With regard to your question about Senator Hatch, I don't speak for my colleagues. They'll have to speak for themselves. I will say that we have some members of Congress, including a total of 13 senators, who have committed so far that they will not vote for any spending bill that includes Obamacare funding. Senator Hatch has not yet joined that group. He has not yet signed the letter that I prepared to that effect. I would love to have him on board and hope that he will join me at some point.